the president of Minnesota Nurses Association and an essential worker. I'm also a COVID ICU nurse at North Memorial Medical Center in Robbinsville, Minnesota. And we are again here today to remind lawmakers that the essential workers put their lives and their livelihood on the line for us this past year and a half. And we're here to make sure that workers are heard when we say it's time to make it right. Throughout this pandemic, workers have fought for protection, for testing, for our pay and our benefits too. Every time we were exposed, we had to quarantine at home, and many of us did not have benefits to pay for that, so we went short. We've used our hard-earned benefits. We went without pay entirely, just to keep the public safe. And this was through no fault of our own. We've lost out, and now we're just asking that some of it be made up. So lawmakers have set aside $250 million for the frontline workers. And this is the first step, and I say the first step towards honoring the sacrifices of the frontline, because this pandemic, and this isn't on the script, is not over. Essential workers have made many sacrifices this past year, and thousands of families and people are counting on us today. It's critical, though, that the working group responsible for distributing the funds ensure that they are distributed in a timely fashion and are easy for the workers to access, and that they reflect the sacrifice workers have made throughout the pandemic. This is not a bonus. This is back pay. This is what's due when your workers go above and beyond and sacrifice to keep the rest of us safe. Now let me introduce Andrea Love, Behavior Support Staff at Whittier Elementary and member of Education Minnesota.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Love, and I'm a Behavior Support Staff at Whittier Elementary in Minneapolis. My job is to respond when students are in conflict or crisis. I help students take breaks to calm down, mediate when students are fighting, and support kids who are having mental health struggles. Unsurprisingly, this school year during COVID, we've seen a huge spike in behavior issues. More outbursts, more frequent and severe conflicts, and more big feelings. Additionally, we were severely understaffed. There are supposed to be 4 of us who work on the student support team. 2 of my colleagues left, and then my only other team member got COVID, so then it was just me, trying to provide support for our entire K-5 school. Plus, there were so many more in-the-moment issues that popped up that I had to handle, which meant a lot less time for follow-ups with students, and that some kids just didn't get what they needed. The work was constant. And at times it was scary. We had to quarantine classrooms multiple times. They couldn't tell us who had COVID, even though I served students throughout the building, doing one-on-one support and lunchroom supervision, which students obviously take their masks off. I worried about bringing COVID home to my roommate, who's a nurse, and my partner. This pandemic has been a scary and confusing time for everyone, but it's especially difficult for children. Imagine what it's like to be a 7-year-old during a pandemic. Everything keeps changing. Schools and businesses are closing and opening and closing again. You have to wear masks and you can't hug each other. Kids bring all of that frustration and confusion and sadness to school with them. My colleagues and I are the ones managing these feelings, helping kids cope while trying to help them learn. The money for essential workers is critical for those of us who have worked through the pandemic. Investing in schools and the people that make school happen means investing in quality care that all of our children deserve. Frontline workers cannot wait.
Thank you, Andrea. Now I'll pass it over to Carla Frederickson, a culinary cook at a nursing home and member of SEIU Healthcare Minnesota.
Good morning. My name is Carla Frederickson, and I am a culinary cook at the Estates in Fridley and a member of the SEIU Healthcare Minnesota. I love the residents in my facility and think of them like another family. A lot of people don't realize how hands-on we have to be with our residents. We know them well, what they like, what they don't like, what allergies they have, how to keep their weight at a certain level. It's actually pretty hard cooking for 50 unique people. When COVID started, we had to face the challenge head on. We worried about bringing COVID into the facility while also worrying about taking it home to our families. We had a whole wing that was COVID patients. We had to change everything. The kitchen should always be the cleanest place in any facility, and we took that very seriously during COVID. Even with all of that, 5 of our 9 staff ended up missing work because of COVID positive quarantines. I was lucky I was one of the people who did get COVID, but that meant I would often have to work long stretches without a day off from 5 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. We lost a few residents. We were very close to them. The stress of this was emotionally hard. We were going through the emotions of losing people we cared about while also dealing with their family members outside of the windows trying to say goodbye to their loved ones. But we stuck with it. A lot of us, especially in my job, feel those in power didn't recognize what we went through. People like us, the culinary staff, are the backbone of our facility, and we gave so much during this pandemic. I hope the working group can take steps to finally show us appreciation beyond nice words for the tens of thousands of essential workers who kept their state running. I hope they can work quickly and set up an easy process to get money into the hands of the people like us who gave so much this last year.
Thank you, Carla. And next, I'll pass it on to Angie Helseth, a caseworker at Lena Lakes Correction Facility and statewide vice president.
Good morning. My name is Angie Helseth, and I'm a caseworker at the Lena Lakes Correction Facility. I've worked for corrections for 21 years. As caseworkers, we help people navigate their way through their incarceration time, all the while preparing them for their transition back into our communities. We act as their liaison to their families, the communities, the courts, and social agencies. We assist them in reaching their goals such as treatment completion, identification documents, reunification with families, and so much more. That is the list of things we do when it is not a pandemic. During the pandemic, you can add to that list helping with laundry and food service. Some facilities issued us duty belts and trained us in self-defense so that we could cover severely short staffing levels with our corrections officers. We also had to act as bailiffs and court clerks when the courts went to their hearings via Zoom. Personally, my husband and I did temperature checks in the quarantine units every Friday, and we also assisted in doing mass COVID testing for our special population. But like so many, extra work is just the start of the hardships. We were slow to receive personal protective equipment, and items like plastic barriers were never an option for us. We sometimes had to meet with clients we knew were COVID positive, but had very little to protect ourselves. We've all worried that our jobs will make us or our families sick. I've had several DOC colleagues become ill from COVID-19 outbreaks at their facilities, including one who gave COVID to her pregnant wife and elderly in-laws. We have members who are currently suffering the long-term effects of COVID-19, and I don't know if they will ever recover. Working in corrections is a challenging and exhausting career, but there is great satisfaction in knowing that we're working to help our communities and keep them safe. And for us, it isn't over yet. Just this week, we had another positive test in my facility. The Delta variant has us all on edge as we know how quickly things spread in a closed facility with 1,500 people living together. We are proud to be frontline workers. I am glad that this task force is getting to work today to find a way to recognize the sacrifices that so many made. As you proceed, I know you'll discover the need is great, and we hope you are willing to ask for more resources for frontline workers. We are a state that is lucky to have more resources available, and I'm asking the state to spend those resources helping frontline workers try to be whole again. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. And now I bring up Emilio Gonzalez, a food service worker and member of Millones, Minnesota.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Emilio González. Soy un sobreviviente de COVID-19. Yo me contagié de esta enfermedad el pasado noviembre y hasta la fecha sigo batallando con las consecuencias de este virus mortal.
Good morning, my name is Emilio Gonzalez. I am an essential worker and a survivor of COVID-19. I contracted the virus this past November, and up to date, I'm still struggling with the sequels of this deadly virus.
He sido un trabajador esencial por 30 años. He tenido 2 pequeños trabajos en limpieza, construcción, manufactura y producción de alimentos. Durante todos estos años trabajé con orgullo, dignidad para poder darle oportunidad a mi familia.
I have been an essential worker for 30 years, oftentimes having 2 or 3 jobs in janitorial, construction, manufacturing, and food production. Throughout all those years, I've worked with pride and dignity to be able to provide more opportunities to my family.
Como muchos de mis compañeros trabajadores esenciales, nosotros hemos asumido nuestro rol con responsabilidad, coraje y valentía, para que aquellos que pudieran trabajar en casa, para que nuestros pequeños y minnesotanos vulnerables no corran el riesgo. Sin embargo, sostener mi rol de casi me cuesta la vida y he sobrevivido solo para darme cuenta que yo y como yo hay muchos que necesitamos el apoyo que refleje nuestro trabajo y nuestra esencialidad.
There's a lot of co-workers, the essential workers like me, who have held our role with responsibility, courage, and bravery, so that those that could stay and work from home could do so that our little Minnesotans and our vulnerable and elderly people didn't run a risk. However, holding my role in the production line will almost takes my life. It almost costs my life. I have survived to also realize that there are many essential workers like me in the food production and agriculture, that we don't have the support that reflects our work or our essentiality.
No podemos ser esenciales e invisibles. No podemos ser esenciales y menospreciados. No podemos ser esenciales y desechables.
We cannot be essential and invisible. We cannot be essential and undermined. We cannot be essential and disposable.
Como sobreviviente del COVID, sería mejor para mí estar en casa, trabajando en mi recuperación, pero estoy aquí luchando con mis compañeros esenciales, pidiéndoles a ustedes que sus acciones y sus decisiones respeten la integridad y el sacrificio de todos los trabajadores esenciales, sin excepciones, que el proceso sea accesible e incluso equitativo.
As a COVID survivor, it would be better for me to be home and working my rehabilitation and recuperation. But I am proudly here, fighting with my brothers and sisters, essential workers, asking from our elected officials and the committee that your actions and your decisions respect the integrity and the sacrifice of all the essential workers without exception. That the process be accessible, transparent, inclusive, and equitable.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Emilio. I'm so glad you're doing so much better than you were even the last time you were out. All right, so it's time now for the legislators and the commissioners and the frontline worker pay working group to make sure our debt to the workers is paid. It's time to make it right. Thank you. You just can't follow Emilio. You know what I mean?
In a perfect world, how soon would you want payments, and who would you want to all be included?
In a perfect world, there isn't one single one of us, whether we had to stay home or not, because the way I see it, it's the people who stayed home, but then you have the people that were doing double and triple the work because many of us had to quarantine. So if somewhere, somehow, we could have money for everybody and enough of it so that people can get financially stable again, that would be wonderful. Because there's not one single frontline worker that I would want to leave out.
Thank you. Dang it.
I can speak to like the nurses, and we have averaged over our, and we make up like 80% of the M&A, the nurses in Minnesota. We've averaged like, I think it's like 23 hours of benefited time loss. I myself have lost like 16 hours, but we have to stay home because we're waiting for a test or something. But the average that we've set is like 23. But I know that there are more people that had no benefited time, and there are even some nurses that, for one reason or another, didn't have benefit time and then dipped into their 401ks and their retirement plans, etc., and their savings. I can only speak to the nurses, but I've heard stories all year long about people who have lost so much more.
Thank you.
No questions about the bill. Thank you.